Hey, this is Debbie from Be Life and welcome to my new video. This is going to be a talk on holistic health and more specifically food. And this video is for you if you suffer from fatigue. This can be chronic fatigue, just like feeling too tired, or if you're suffering from digestive issues, or even leaky gut. And also if you are on a raw food diet or if you are considering going on a raw food diet. Because I'm going to talk today about foods that in general are considered healthy foods, but that might not be so healthy for you, and foods that might actually be healthy for you. Now, how can you determine this for yourself? So today's going to be a little bit more of an informational video to give you some more insight coming from my own journey that I have taken for more than a decade now, and things that I found out along the way and that I would like to pass on to you. So I suffered from a chronic illness for many years, and before that time I was a person that could eat anything, and I didn't feel like anything was negatively impacting me. I felt like I was healthy, mainly because I have a fast metabolism. I don't gain a lot of weight. So I had this idea in my head that I could just eat anything. I'm pretty sure that that was what led to my chronic illness. And that was a chronic urinary tract infection that they gave me a lot of antibiotics for. Now, I had to really grow up at that time and wake up to the idea that I had to take responsibility over my own life. So I started looking at my diet, and that has eventually helped me to get out of that chronic illness. And I've learned so much along the way, because when my gut microbiome got destroyed by the antibiotics, I could barely eat anything anymore. So I really felt like I had to start from total scratch, because obviously I didn't want to live in pain for the rest of my life. So all this information comes from my journey, and I'm happy to share it with you. And I look at it from a holistic perspective, meaning that if you're confused with all the health food diets out there, then watch this, because I'm trying to take an approach that leaves all the dogma out of it and just make it easy and simple for you to understand, so you can decide for yourself what's going to be healthy for you. Now, I want to take you back to our ancestors at the start of this journey, because when we look at what our ancestors ate, now there are different opinions about this as well, but we can probably all agree on that it was whatever they could find. There weren't any grocery stores, so it was what they could find in nature. Now, it apparently mainly consisted of wild berries, roots that they could find in the ground, leafy greens, and some animal products. Now, about 10,000 years ago, agriculture was born. And with that, our diets changed drastically. Agriculture is really based on foods that are easy to grow in large quantities. And as of the last decades, it also has been extremely altered. So now these two things I want you to take into consideration when you listen to the rest of this. Because what I want to do is if you're considering a healthy diet and you want to change your eating habits, or maybe you have difficulty finding out what is actually good for your gut and what will help you when you're feeling tired, then I want you to consider all this information and weigh it out for yourself. I'm not saying that you have to take my word as truth. I'm just merely suggesting you things, and I want you to do your own research and experience it for yourself. So first of all, I want to touch on a component that is called polyphenols. So polyphenols are extremely healthy to our bodies, and that they make it really efficient for us to create energy in our bodies. They do a whole bunch of other stuff as well, like they fight inflammation, and the list goes on, but this is the thing I want you to understand. Now, polyphenols have been a big part of our diet in the past until agriculture came up. Then it started disappearing more and more. Now, I'm going to put a list of these foods in the description down below for you to review so that you can see which of these you are already incorporating into your diet. Now, some of the foods high in polyphenols are, for example, dark berries, but also things like broccoli sprouts and even dark chocolate. Now, this is a food group I would suggest incorporating into your diet because it can help you fight fatigue, it can help you restore gut health, and it can help you with your leaky gut if that's what you're suffering from. Now, another type of food that we have been consuming a lot since agriculture came up are foods that are high in lectins. Now, nightshade is one of the food families that are high in lectins, so these are also one of the most studied, and therefore some people try to expel this food group completely out of their diet. But in all fairness, a lot of food contain lectins also outside of the nightshade family. So there are ways to work around this, and again, it is going to be up to you to experiment with the foods and which ones agree well with you or not. Now, the nightshade families, for example, potatoes and tomatoes, and goji berries as well. Now, one thing that is going on with lectins is that lectin is a toxin, but it's a natural defense. So nature made it for a reason. It made it to protect itself from being eaten. So certain plants make lectins so that it wards off predators. But then it's still edible to other species, because if all life forms would produce lectins that are inedible to all species, then nobody would have anything to eat, right? So lectins are safe for one life form and not for another. Now, to understand it more in depth, we can look at an example here, and that's, for example, because lectins also consist in dairy products. So milk, for example, is very high in lectin. Now, the mother does this to protect the milk from microorganisms that want to spoil it, like, for example, bad bacteria, and wants to get it safe to the baby. So it's very high in lectins, but the lectins are safe to consume for babies. So nature intended it to be like that. Now, lectins aren't that safe in general for adults, especially not if you already suffer from certain gut problems and like fatigue. So one way to deal with this is, yes, obviously you can expel foods that are high in lectin, but there's also a workaround, because a lot of these foods also offer you a lot of health benefits. So one of the ways that we can work around this is by soaking. For example, oats are high in lectins, and I like to have oats for breakfast, and they also offer me benefits. So when you soak and cook the foods, the amount of lectins will decrease tremendously. Now, this is why this is important if you like to eat raw foods, because then this is something for you to take into consideration. And that specifically counts for example, tomatoes. Because if we take a food like potatoes, most people cook them before they eat them. But tomatoes are also eaten a lot raw, and they're high in lectins. Now, another fun fact about tomatoes is when they're cooked, they're actually even more beneficial to your health, because it activates a certain antioxidant that it contains, and that antioxidant actually becomes more bioavailable to the body. So the health benefits are way greater when you cook your tomatoes versus eating raw tomatoes. All I am doing is providing you with the information that I have, and make the consideration for yourself. Now, so cooking is one of the ways, cooking and soaking. A second way to go around it is sprouting. So sprouting is another way to decrease the level of lectins. Now, why is this? So when we look at it from the holistic perspective and we look at nature, why does soaking help? Why does sprouting help? It's because that is the phase of life where nature kind of gives up the protection, because nature wants to procreate and wants to be successful at that. So when it's protecting a seed with lectins, the sign that nature is looking for to be able to germinate the seed is water. So when you introduce water, it's the sign for nature to let go of its defense mechanism, because now the seed is going to be able to grow. So this is basically how it works, and this is why it can work for you and for your body. So this is just, if you have this basic understanding, then you can decide for yourself if there are certain foods that you would totally want to expel from your diet, and if there's certain foods that you might want to choose to soak, cook, or eat sprouted. Now, another thing that is beneficial to circumvent some of these issues is to eat organic, and I'm going to tell you why. Lectins, like I just explained, are a natural defense mechanism from nature to ward off certain pests. Now, humans found out about this, and when agriculture came to be, they started modifying the foods like wheat, and they started increasing the level of lectins in the foods because it wards off pests, so they would have a higher yield. Now, obviously, this also means that eating non-organic foods, the chances are that the lectin levels are way higher. So eating organic could be another way for you to eat these foods more safely. So one other food group I want to touch upon is our nuts. And a lot of people love to eat nuts and consider them to be a very healthy food. But they aren't made to be easy digestible to humans. So especially if you want to eat raw nuts and enjoy the health benefits, again, soaking would be a good way of doing that. Because nuts are high in phytic acid. Phytic acid is also considered an anti-nutrient, just like lectin. So they're a toxin to the body. And what you want to do is you want to neutralize that defense mechanism. Now, soaking is a really good way to do that. And after you've soaked the nuts, you can dry them again by either putting them into the dehydrator or putting them into the oven on the lowest setting until they're completely dry. Now, I will put more information in the comments below for you to read through. So I'll put a food group that is high in lectins, I'll put a food group that is high in polyphenols, and I'll explain how to soak your nuts. Now, so I don't want this video to get too long, so I really hope that this gives you more understanding and the ability to find for yourself the foods that you want to incorporate into your diet and that you want to experiment with to increase your own health, to gain more energy, to lower your fatigue, or better yet, get completely rid of it. And I just hope this is really helpful. So to summarize, what I would suggest to look at is you want to incorporate as many foods in your diet that are high in polyphenols, and you want to decrease the lectin foods, or you want to work around that by cooking, soaking, sprouting, and or eating organic foods. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was of great value to you. Please leave a comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions. I'm more than happy to help. And for now, I just want to say bye, and I hope to see you in my next video. Please don't forget to give a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to keep following me, and I'll see you in the next one.